Bay College is committed to student success and community success. The things that we have done in the last 4 or 5 years is add some programs. We added mechatronics and robotics because that was something that was very needed in our community by our manufacturers. And the graduates have got jobs waiting for them, and the manufacturers are asking us for more. So it was a really good move on our part. Cybersecurity is something that we're all concerned about all of the time because people are always hacking into something. But the newest program that we have now is agricultural operations. And we actually had the farming community and the Farm Bureau come to us along with MSU and say, please bring this to this community because our kids that are coming up, although they've learned from their grandpas and grandmas and their moms and their dads, there's a whole lot more that needs to be learned because farming is changing just like all other occupations are changing. So they told us why they needed to have it, and we determined that that was really a good idea. So we have partnered with MSU, and we now have agricultural operations and technology right here at Bay College. And so some of those classes will be offered by Bay, and some will be offered by the MSU instructors. Additionally, we have expanded what we are doing within the allied health portion. We added EMT and paramedic, and we also additionally have MRI technicians. And when we talked to the hospitals in the area, they said we need 2 new MRI technicians each year. And so we partnered with a group of community colleges across the state, and we have 2 seats in a program, and our first graduates have completed and they have gotten jobs. So that's a really cool piece. We also are offering 4 degrees fully online, and those include free digital textbooks. That's a big, huge savings for our students, and they can see them on their iPads or on their computers or on their phones. But they also, if they want to have them printed, they can do that, and they can do that through our bookstore, and they won't be charged more than $40 for those books. So there's lots of really great opportunities, and I said the board, employees at the college all want to provide the things that are needed for this community, but they also want to keep costs as low as they can. One of the things that we get asked about on a regular basis is about North Athletics. And so what we have always seen, and I've talked about before with the community, is that our enrollment is directly impacted by the unemployment rate. And so we were going through a huge decrease of unemployment. It was at 14% in 2009 and 10, and it has gone down to 4%. And so we were seeing our enrollment absolutely drop through the floor. So the board said we need new people for us to be focused on in our recruitment, and athletics is something that had been talked about for some time, and they decided that would be a good space for us to do it. It would give athletes from our community the opportunity to play for 2 more years. It has been fantastically successful. We have almost 100 athletes on the campus, and they bring friends with them, boyfriends, girlfriends, and just good friends, and that gives us an additional 30 to 40 students every year. What that's done for us is it has equalized, plateaued our enrollment. It has filled up our apartments that we have on the campus and has been a fantastic way for us to bring on diversity onto the campus. We have some international students playing ball with us, and we have people from different parts of the state and country. We have students from Detroit, and we had students for a couple of years from Milwaukee. And so it's been a really great experience for our students to be able to have a more diverse group of people around them. But predominantly, we have Youper kids who are on our teams, and it's really been exciting to be at basketball games and at softball and baseball games, the number of people who come and watch. We have 300 to 500 people in the gym with a basketball team, so it's just been fantastic. Additionally, we got a $1 million grant from Hannahville specifically for a building addition for locker rooms and offices and a training room that you see going up outside of the YMCA. Again, we weren't planning on building a new locker room space, but Hannahville knew there was a need, and so they came to us with that $1 million grant. And when that gets completed here real soon, it's going to be a fantastic piece for the Bay College athletes, but also for the YMCA. One of the things that we're very proud about is that 100% of our community has the opportunity to earn a college degree at Bay. And most everybody who would be listening to or watching this has had someone go to Bay College in their families, whether it be themselves, their children, or their grandchildren. When I talked about community success, we are committed to that success. And we have great partnerships with our K-12 districts. And so the state funds dual enrollment for the high school kids, and they also fund early college programs, which means that the students get a 5th year of high school where they're taking all their classes at Bay College. And we had 33 districts send dual enrollment students to us last year, and we have 10 early college programs. And those 10 early college programs are not only AA degrees, Associate of Arts degrees, and Associate of Science degrees that are generally used to then go on and get a 4-year degree. They also involve CTE, Career Technical Education programs that the students start out at the ISD taking classes, and then they come over and they take classes at Bay, and then they complete their degrees at Bay, and then continue on at Michigan Tech or LSSU or Ferris or any number of other schools that are offering engineering degrees. And so last year we had 7 students who graduated from the early college program with their associate's degree 2 weeks before they got their high school diploma. The year before we had 5 students who graduated with an associate's degree before they got their high school diploma, just because of scheduling. But those students and their families now only have to pay for 2 more years of school in order to be able to get a bachelor's degree. Again, reducing the cost of higher education for students and families. And all those students who took lots and lots of dual enrollment classes, they are going to save all of those costs, and both the student and the family. We also are an active participant in the Michigan Transfer Agreement, which means all of our classes transfer to all the schools in Michigan as well as any of the universities across the United States. We also have articulation agreements with the universities, which are for specific programs. And the example that I would give to you is our Associate of Science degree, which is a pre-engineering degree. And we work that with Michigan Tech, and so our students are able to go directly to Michigan Tech. They take 1 class in the summertime, and they go in as a junior. And that's a really exciting opportunity for our engineering students because they're getting really small classes, and they're taking their physics classes and their calculus classes, and they go much better prepared to their 4-year institution because they've had nice small classes, and we have lots of tutoring available to them here at Bay College. We educate in credit classrooms over 2,000 students a year. We also train over 2,500 local employees each year with workforce development courses. We have hosted in the Herman Center and the Bessie Theater 1,153 community events, meetings, and conferences on campus over the last year. That totaled over 7,000 service hours in 2018-19. We also have a really great support from the community by having, we get 20 to 53% of the graduates from many of our high schools come to Bay College, which is exceedingly high. In other communities, it's 10 to 15%. But that shows that our community, 1, supports us, 2, know that their kids and grandkids and themselves are going to get a quality education at a very low cost. And so that's an important piece for us. 80% of our graduates stay in our community, which is also very important. And with particularly the CTE programs, the students are starting off doing the mechatronics and robotics or other engineering-focused degrees. They come to us, finish them, and all the while they are doing internships with local businesses. And sometimes those local businesses end up paying for them to be able to go to a university and get an engineering degree. So it's an exciting piece. Bay College has awarded 16,000 degrees to over 12,000 graduates. And those alumni include so many different titles: nurses and doctors, technicians, welders, engineers, judges, lawyers, paramedics, engineers, as I said before, law enforcement officers. I would dare to say that the public safety around here is mostly made up with people who graduated from the criminal justice programs here at Bay College. One of the focuses of our board is to keep college affordable by limiting our tuition increases. We do not raise our tuition any more than we absolutely have to. And as the senior leadership team is building the budget each year that we present to the board, we know that we have to keep that tuition increase as low as possible. Additionally, I will tell you that when we are building our budgets, that we have been reducing operating and utility expenses every single solitary year as we build our budgets. And so these are important knowledge bases because at this point, when we try to cut anything, we actually are chopping bark off trees because people are working really, really hard, and we cannot afford to let any more people go, which we have done in the past. Also, our facilities guys have been doing a really great job of maintaining systems beyond their useful life. And when I say that, we have boilers, chillers, and HVAC systems that are over 50 years old. We need to get them replaced right away because they're running out of places to be able to find replacement parts. So it's important for us to get this taken care of and in all one fell swoop so that everybody's getting all the training all at one time. And we also want to improve our lighting. We've done a lot with that, but we are going to do a lot more also. One of our biggest challenges is that the state of Michigan is just flat out not funding us at the place that they should be. Back in 2000, the state appropriation aid was 52% of our budget, tuition and fees was 32%, and property tax was 16%. In 2018, the state appropriation aid was 35%. Tuition and fees were 49%, and property taxes were 16%. We do not get cost of living increases in Michigan. There was a study that was released this summer in a university journal that compared Michigan and Wisconsin to Texas and New York. Texas and New York, they've gotten cost of living increases, and so amazingly, their tuition hasn't gone up as much as it has in Michigan and Wisconsin. Michigan and Wisconsin, we are lucky if we get 1% or 1.5% increases. And so it makes it very, very difficult. And in fact, if we had gotten cost of living increases just from 2000 to 2018, we would have had $1.3 million additional dollars in our budget this past year. And I would not be coming to you to get a millage passed. But that's the reason why we have to do it, because we are defunding education in general in our state. We have critical improvement needs in building infrastructure, lighting and efficiency advances, and also in safety systems. And we have built a comprehensive, cost-effective plan that will ensure safe, productive, and efficient learning environments. You're looking right now on the screen at some of our boiler rooms. Again, 50 years old, 50 or more years old. I actually went into one of these rooms this summer. It was 30 degrees warmer in the boiler room. The hallway was a little bit warmer. Classrooms close by were also impacted, which meant that we had to have our air conditioning on even higher. We need to get efficient boilers. These are maybe 50% efficient. And so by doing that, we're going to be able to reduce our utility costs in great big huge ways. We also are going to be able to reduce our operating costs. I want to make it very clear that we're not going to let go any of our custodians or facilities guys. This means that we aren't going to have contractors coming in and doing work for us. We're going to do this by investing in renewable energy at the City of Escanaba solar array that's by the airport. That's only 8 acres. And by doing it all at one time, we will save 20% on engineering costs because it's one project. Our construction costs, we know that if we did it over a 10-year period, it would double by the end of that 10 years. But more importantly, all of us know in our homes that when we're having furnaces that are breaking down constantly, we finally decide we're just going to have to get this thing replaced. Because when is it going to go out? It's going to go out when it's minus 35 degrees outside, and it's going to cost us twice as much to get it taken care of. The slide that you're looking at right now shows all the different things that we're going to be buying. I told you we'd be buying solar panels, 2,900 of them, and then a whole lot of other pieces of equipment also. What will this do for us? It will reduce our utility bills by 59%, which means that we'll be saving up to $175,000 in energy savings annually. $90,000 of that will be from renewable energy generation, and that is a fixed cost solution to an expense that changes every single solitary year, and so it just makes a whole lot of sense. And then the operational savings I talked about was $40,000, and that's to have contractors come in. One of the things you hear being talked about on a regular basis these days is carbon emissions. And by doing this project, we're going to be reducing our carbon emissions substantially because we're going to have 95 to 97% efficient boilers and other equipment. That is equivalent to 73,712 trees growing for 10 years, which is a really big, huge deal. Another piece that's important to the college is the safety and security that we need on campus. We need to be able to lock down all of the buildings on the campus with pushing a single solitary button. Right now, if we needed to lock down our campus, there are people in each building who are assigned to go around and lock up all the doors in their building. It takes 2.5 minutes. We all know that seconds count when there's an emergency going on, and we need for them to not have to do that. And so we have over 30 doors that are outside coming into our buildings where students are residing. And we're different from K-12s, where all the kids come in, they go through one door, they go to class, they stay there all day long, and then they leave at the end of the day. And if parents need to come in and get one of those kids and take them to a doctor's appointment or something, they push a buzzer and they let them in. We have people going in and out of our buildings from 7 o'clock in the morning until 10 o'clock at night. And we don't know when that's going to happen. And we certainly cannot afford to hire people to be at all 30 of those doors, making sure that even at 9 doors, if you just went down to 1 door in each building, we don't have the funds to be able to do that. So just being able to push a button and lock everything down would be a huge help. The other thing we want to do is have lighting improvements in our parking lots. I don't know what we were doing in the 1970s, but when we were building parking lot poles and the light fixtures that we put in there, for some reason we thought that the moon wanted to see our light. Or maybe when we're flying over at nighttime, going into the Escanaba airport, say, there's Escanaba, look at all the lights. Not sure what it was all about, but what we know is that we have people who are concerned about the lighting in our parking lot and on our paths. And we want to put in new ones that are LED lit, that are more directed downward so that we have a dark sky environment, and then have motion-activated LED lit pathways so that people aren't worried about going on paths where there's some bushes and things around. Additionally, we need enhanced fire alarm systems. In 1962, Delta County passed a 1.0 operational millage. And what that did was it told the state, we want to have a community college and we're going to pay for it. And that was a really big, huge deal. And then in 1968, an additional 1.5 operational millage was passed. And that is what we have been operating the college off of for the last over 50 years. A Headley Amendment was passed in 1978. And there are those of you who are listening who were operating home budgets at that time in the mid to late 70s. We were suffering from 16 to 17% hyperinflation, and people didn't know how much stuff was going to cost next week, let alone next year. And so during that time, they passed the Headley Amendment so that they wouldn't be raising their taxes that much every year, which you can all just imagine what that would have done to our taxes on our homes, because it was bad enough at the time that if you were buying a home, you had to pay a 16 or 17% interest rate. The net result of that is that we actually only received 2.3076 of the 2.5 mil that was voted on. And so that's the Headley restoration that we're asking for, which is 0.1924. And that will give the college $230,000 annually, which is so desperately needed. Additionally, in 1993, we passed a capital millage. And the community, when they passed that millage, they wanted us to build a building where they could come and they could have all kinds of wonderful meetings and conferences and all of that. And that's the Herman Center, where so many of you have come and had those kinds of experiences. When that millage ran out in 2013, we had another renewal. And we all came out. I came around and I talked to you guys about what we wanted to do. And we wanted to do renovations, not build new buildings particularly. And we wanted to have all of our academic support, student support things in one place. So if you come over to the college, you can walk through. What you'll see is that area, we call it the hub, is 50 to 75% full at all times. So the students can get their online help, they can get their accommodations help, they can get their tutoring, their supplemental instruction, they can see their co-advisors, they can just do a whole lot of stuff in there, as well as have study groups, which is an important piece of being engaged and learning while you're in college. We additionally doubled the size of our welding lab because there's such a huge demand for welders. And we did some renovations in our BHAP building around our water technology lab. And we also added new programs like the mechatronics and robotics and EMT and paramedic. we leveraged the millage that we passed with grants that we got that we could buy equipment with. And just a huge change has come to the college because of that. So the total millages that have passed is 3.5, and we currently get a millage of 3.3076. So what we're asking for is a 0.7 operational millage increase, and that will be used to pay for all of the things that I've been talking about that we need to have. And then the 0.1924 Headley restoration, which will give us a total millage request of 0.8924. If you own an $80,000 house, that's going to cost you $2.97 per month. And if you own a $200,000 house, that's going to cost you $7.44 a month. And it's going to make a humongous difference at the college if you do that. So the facts are the state of Michigan is not sufficiently funding community college education. Bay College impacts our local economy over $100 million annually. These millage dollars stay right here in our community. They are investing in the future of Delta County, and they're not going anyplace else except right here in Delta County. Every tax dollar you invest in college operations brings a $6.80 benefit to the community, and for every dollar students put in, they earn $4.80 for every dollar that they spent on their education by getting higher wages. One of the great things about Bay College is our history is strong, and together we can make this future stronger. And I know that you all want to do all of that. The other piece that I want to mention is that the renovations that will be done in the college from stem to stern, putting all these boilers and things in, those will all be done by local workforce because Bay is committed to employing the people in Delta County to do Delta County work. So the tax dollars stay here, the jobs stay here, and it creates an environment where our students do better in school because they have a better learning environment. If you have any questions, please feel free to give me a call, Laura Coleman, president at Bay College, at 217-4244, or drop me an email at Coleman, Colemanl, at baycollege.edu. Thank you very much for listening.